Okay, here we are in chapter 7.6, fraction multiplication, and we've been using models every day, and we still can use models, but we're finally going to move on to paper and pencil fraction multiplication, and I think you're going to enjoy it. If we look down at the bottom of page 311, it's going to show you the other way. Now, above that it shows you using a model, and we've been over that a bunch of times, so I think you can figure that out. And we're going to just jump right into the paper and pencil method. So you use the numbers, and you don't have to draw a picture, and it's terrific, but you have to make sure you understand the model first, because you have to understand the fractions. You're multiplying 3/5 times 1/2, or 1/2 times 3/5. It's a fraction of a fraction, so it means it's going to get smaller. But basically what we do is we just remember we can multiply the numerators, which is like 1 times 1, and 1 times 3. Not 1 times 1. Here we go. 1 times 3. And we can multiply the denominators, which is 2 times 5. And we just multiply straight through. 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 5 is 10. And ta-da, we're done. You notice how easy that was? Yeah. That's all there is. You're going to zoom through this. Now, there is one or two other little things. We have to simplify when we get a product. But right now, 3/10 is in simplest form. So in this case, it was a simple matter of multiplying the numerators and then multiplying the denominators. Now, we could look at another one. There's a whole number times a fraction. So they have 4 times 5/12. Now, this is important because it looks a little different than 1/2 times 3/5. But we can rewrite 4 as a fraction as 4 wholes. 4/1 times 5/12. Okay? And simply multiply straight through. Okay? And 4 times 5 is 20. That's the numerators. 1 times 12 is 12. Now here is more interesting because we get what we call an improper fraction. The numerator is larger than the denominator. Now here it came out just right, and we didn't need to simplify. Here we get more, and it's because we multiplied by a number bigger than 1. Now it's still less than 4. Okay, so 5/12 is close to half. And if we multiply 4 times half, we'd get 2. And we're still going to get a number that's close to 2. Like if I just did a 4 times 1/2 equals 2, or half of 4 is 2. That kind of makes sense. Now I can simplify, or I can change it to a mixed number, and I'm going to have to do both. It just depends on what I want to start out with. And I guess I could simplify first. So I'm going to divide by 2 on the top and divide by 2 on the bottom. Actually, I could also choose to divide by 4 on the top or by 4 on the bottom. And it's always better to divide by what the biggest number that you can think of that goes into both 20 and 12. Okay, so if I do that, and I divide by 4 instead of 2 because it's bigger, 20 divided by 4 is 5. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, that's simplest form, sort of. I still have to change it to a mixed number. And 5/3, there's more than fit in the pizza box. Remember, we always talk about pizzas. There's 5 slices of pizza, but it only takes 3 of them to fill a box. So if we took 3 slices and made 1 full box of pizza, we'd have 2 slices left, still size 3. So 5/3 is the same as 1 2/3. And it's okay to think you can actually just kind of do division. 3 goes into 5 once with 2 remainder. And if we want to look at it like long division, we say, how many times does 3 go into 5? Well, it goes in once. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 take away 3 is 2, so that's a remainder of 2. So see, we have 1, which is this number right here, and 2, which is this number right here, and 3, which is this number right here, 1 2/3. So this is the size that we're dividing. 1 2/3 is our answer to the division problem. Now, I want to show you real quickly another trick. We do the same problem over again. 4 1s times 5/12 And remember, our answer was 1 2/3. This was our final answer. Now what I want you to do is I want you to simplify before you multiply. And using this simple idea that you can 1 times 12 is the same as 12 times 1. This is the commutative property. So if I rewrote this problem, leaving those alone, but changing this around, I'm still going to get the same answer. It's the commutative. 1 times 12 is still 12, and 4 times 5 is 20, and 12 times 1 is still 12. But now I see that 4/12 could be simplified. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify it. 4/12 is the same as 1/3. And I want you to just think about that for a second. 4/12 is the same as 1/3. Divide 4 by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 1/3 is the simplified version of 4/12. And this is called simplify before you multiply. And it rhymes. And so I like it. Okay, simplify before you multiply. And then when we go ahead and multiply now, I don't know what color I was using. Instead of 4 times 5, it's just 1 times 5. And instead of 12 times 1, it's just 3 times 1. And we don't have to simplify then after we multiply. We can simplify first. And a lot of times it's easier to simplify the small numbers before you multiply and get big numbers. All right, now 5/3 doesn't look exactly like 1 2/3, but remember the same problem. We had to do the division and figure out how many times 3 goes into 5, which is 1 whole time, with 2 slices left over, 2 pieces of this fraction. So 1 2/3 is our answer. So it's called simplify before you multiply, and you can do that all the time. And I want you to. So we'll just keep practicing with that. You don't have to. If you want to, you can do it the other way around. But look at this one. 3/8 times 8/9. When you multiply, you get 24 in the numerator, 70 seconds. And then you have to figure out how to simplify. And a lot of times we'll just divide by the easiest thing we can think of, which in this case is 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 72 divided by 2, that's kind of hard. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to divide by, I mean, I can figure it out. It's 36. But maybe if I had gone back and divided by something a little bigger, like 8. Okay, divide by 8, and we get 24 divided by 8 is 3. And 72 divided by 8 is 9. And then I think, oh, well, I can divide 3 and 9 by something. Let's divide by 3 and get 1/3. Oh, nice. So 1/3 is my answer, but it's possible that I could have started over here and gotten there by simplifying before I multiply. And so if we look at it, the 8 and the 8, I don't even have to change them around. Remember, I changed them around last time. I said, well, that's 3 times 8. But then I went ahead and I moved the bottom ones. I said, well, we could do 9 times 8 instead of 8 times 9. And then we can see stuff. See, 8 over 8 is the same as 1 over 1. 8/8 is 1. But we can actually just do it diagonally. And the only thing you need to remember is that you have to do, when you simplify before you multiply, you have to simplify something from the numerator, the top number, with something from the denominator, the bottom. And as long as you're multiplying, you can go diagonal, and it still works. So in this case, we're going to simplify 8/8 on this diagonal. And then we're also going to simplify 3/9. 3/9 becomes, divide by 3 and get 1, divide by 3 and get 1. Oh, get 3. Okay, now when we multiply, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, now if you don't like it, this is the way to go. To multiply straight across and then figure out how to simplify. But if you want to try the complicated version, which is actually easier once you get used to it, the simplify before you multiply, it looks like this. Let's do a couple more of those just to make sure we have it. Here's 1/12 times 1/3 times 2/3. Okay, and now I could just go straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 12 times 3 is 36. And then I think, well, what can I divide 36 and 12 by? Well, let's see, I could divide by 2, and I could divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 36 divided by 2, I might have to think about that for a little while. That's 18. And that's a pretty decent answer. Now, if I wanted to do the other method and I simplify before I multiply, I start with 1/12. And I multiply by 2/3, just like before. But now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to look and say, 2 and 12 can be simplified as 1 and 6. And then I'm going to multiply. Is there anything else? No, that's it. Then I multiply 1 times 1, 6 times 3, and I get the same answer. I just decided to simplify first instead of second. Either way works. Just keep working it just like this, and all your problems will work. There's one more that I want to show you. It's the algebra style. They'll say 2/5 times C. And then they tell you that C equals 4/7. Or whatever it is, they tell you that C equals. And so all you have to do is you just, wherever you see C, you put 4/7 in to that C. So you can rewrite it 2/5 times 4/7. And then you look around. Can you simplify before you multiply in this one? You don't. You can't. So that means we're not going to have to simplify after either, which is kind of nice to know. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 7 is 35. And that can't be simplified. You can't divide anything. You can't divide anything by 8 that you can also divide 35 by. So 8 divided by 2 or 8 divided by 4. But you can't do 2 or 4 for 35. You can only do like 5 or 7. So it doesn't work, and we're done. That's the simplified version. And this is what the algebra looks like. You just have to insert the number that they give you in place of the letter. The letter is called a variable, because it can change one problem to the next. It can't change in the same problem, but you come up with a new problem, and next time C could equal 1/2, or C could equal 3.2, or some other number, whatever it is that the problem calls for. Okay, enjoy yourself working on this assignment.